Depositing with the CBO. Welcome to Depositing with the CBO. In this tutorial, we will cover different aspects of the CAL's business operations deposit process, including standard deposit information and guidelines, departmental responsibilities, preparing a check deposit, how to complete a deposit slip, submitting documents, and we will provide some helpful hints and resources for you to refer to. First, let's begin with standard deposit information and guidelines. The university's deposit procedure is based on Regulation 07.30.02, Receipt Centers, Deposit Funds, and the General Statute 147-77, Daily Deposit of Funds to Credit of Treasurer. All university receipts must be deposited in compliance with the General Statute 147-77, which requires that all revenues and receipts collected by a state agency shall be deposited no later than the next business day following the date of the collection, unless the amount of the receipts is less than $250. When as much as $250 has been collected, a deposit must be made. Additionally, a deposit must be made at least once per week, even when less than $250 has been accumulated, as well as at the end of each month. Each unit must establish their own operating procedures to ensure compliance with the general statutes. To ensure you are in compliance, please use the button at the bottom of this page to read and become familiar with this regulation. The university expects each department or unit to have established, documented, and implemented their own standard operating procedures to ensure compliance with general statutes, as well as effective internal controls for collecting, tracking, storing, and reconciling deposits until the custody of funds is transferred from the department to the CBO. For additional information, please use the buttons on this page to review the CAL's Guide and Template for Department and Unit Level Internal Controls for Check Handling and SOP 308, Check Handling. For departmental check handling, departments or units may use the check inventory log to track the funds movement within the department. The log is linked here for your convenience. Each department and/or unit is responsible for keeping its own financial deposit records. For tracking and auditing purposes, each department or unit is responsible to maintain and file deposit copies of deposits and checks with the sensitive information redacted. These copies should be retained for at least 12 months. Next, let's discuss preparing deposits and the requirements that are involved. Checks are extremely vulnerable to loss if they are not handled appropriately. As previously discussed, per the regulation, all revenues and receipts are required to be deposited within one business day of being received by the department, and a deposit must be made at least once per week, even if less than $250 has been accumulated, as well as at the end of each month. Each unit must establish operating procedures to ensure compliance with the general statutes. To help you better understand the process, we have outlined it here. This workflow map shows the accounts receivable check deposit workflow process from the check being received at the department or unit to the check being deposited in the bank. As you prepare your check deposit, there are certain documentation requirements. The following documents are required to accompany each deposit. First, a completed deposit slip that includes a description or purpose of what the check is for. Next, a copy of the Wolf Report or WRS that shows the project and phase that the check should be deposited into is required. And finally, copies for the departmental records. 2 copies of the following items are required: the deposit slip and the original check with any sensitive information redacted. One copy is for the department to retain for their records, and the other copy should be included with the check for the CBO. As you just learned, one required piece of documentation is a copy of the check with any and all sensitive information redacted. This means when making photocopies, you will need to remove any sensitive information, including the checking account number and check routing number as seen here in this example. Please keep in mind that this sensitive information should be redacted from the copies of the check and not the original check, as that information is necessary to deposit the check into the bank. One helpful tip when redacting sensitive information is to use a Post-it note to cover the sensitive information you wish to redact. Then photocopy the check with the Post-it note on it, blocking the sensitive information. The Post-it note can be removed when you are finished making copies, and your check will still be in a good, readable condition to be deposited. If your deposit contains 4 or more checks, then you can use the BA027 supplement to the university deposit slip as a continuation form. The form is linked here for your convenience. Next, let's review how to properly complete a deposit slip. A fully legible deposit slip is required to accompany every deposit. A template of a completed deposit slip is provided here for you. The deposit slip should include the following information: a description or purpose of the funds, the project and phase of where the funds should be deposited, the account code, and to find that information, you can use the chart of accounts for revenue and/or the chart of accounts for expenses, and a contact name and phone number. The individual listed here should be the best contact for the AR team to contact with any questions they may have about the deposit. All checks that are being deposited must be endorsed or stamped with the project code and account number. Also, all checks must be endorsed on the back. It is not sufficient to denote for deposit only, the department name, or NCSU. It is the responsibility of each department or unit to order their own deposit slips. Deposit slips can be ordered through the NC State Bookstore by contacting Deborah Good at 919-515-3904 or by emailing her at dagoode@ncsu.edu. Now that we have reviewed deposit guidelines and how to complete the deposit slip, let's discuss submitting your deposit to the CBO. A few things to keep in mind when submitting your deposits. If your deposit contains more than 4 checks, then you may use the BA027 form, supplement to the university deposit slip, as a continuation form. When delivering your deposits, if an AR team member is not available or it is after hours, there is a secure drop box that you may leave your deposit in. The drop box is located on the ground floor of Patterson Hall, outside the Accounts Receivable Office, room number G11. Let's review some more helpful hints to keep in mind when working with deposits. Remember that all checks need to be endorsed. It is not sufficient to only denote for deposit only, the department's name, or NCSU. Each department is responsible to order their own deposit slips. This can be done through the NC State Bookstore by calling or emailing Deborah Good. We have provided her contact information here. And lastly, if you have 4 or more checks in your deposit, be sure to use the BA027 supplement to the university deposit slip as a continuation of your deposit slip. In this tutorial, we have discussed many different forms, web pages, and resources related to deposits. Here we have provided links to all those helpful resources for you to bookmark and reference in the future. Click the individual buttons below to access the different resources. If you have any questions or need assistance, please contact us either by our CBO helpline at 919-515-4CBO or 919-515-4226, via email at cbo_help@ncsu.edu, or in person at the CBO Accounts Receivable Office, located on the ground level of Patterson Hall in room G11. To view our location on a campus map and get directions, please click the map icon located here. Also, to access resources, learn more about the CBO and its units, or provide feedback, please visit our CBO website at go.ncsu.edu/CBO. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to working with you in the future.